Hey folks, I'm Bo Ross, and today we're having a conversation about a device that's been quite polarizing. Widely considered to be the king of Android phones, we're going to find out if this royal flagship is still deserving of that title, or maybe succumbing to the weight of its own crown. This, my friends, is Samsung's Galaxy S25 Ultra. Let's take a look. So we all know the hottest trend in smartphones over the past couple years is to make little to no actual improvements to a device, overpromise and underdeliver some half-baked AI stuff, and call it a day. I genuinely want to know, are there actually people out there who are clamoring for these AI features? Like, is there somebody sitting at home watching a keynote event while frantically scrambling for their credit card saying, finally, I can add a convincing mustache to my dog in real time? I'm not one to engagement bait, but please tell me if this is you and who hurt you. With the exception of the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, year-over-year improvements to most flagship smartphones, at least here in the US market, have slowed to the most meandering of crawls. I mean, the only significant hardware update to the iPhone in recent years was adding a USB port. Something they were basically forced to do by the EU. And Samsung have really ratcheted up their advancement apathy this year. Not only have they opted to withhold any major upgrades, they've even had the audacity to remove some features from last year's model. So it's really easy to look at this device and say,
is this it?
But before you assume that this video is going to be 10 minutes of me dunking on this phone, here's the thing. In spite of everything I just said, this is still probably the best phone in the world. We've got a real dichotomy to unpack here. So it should be obvious by now, but unless you're in a position for which buying a $1,300 phone doesn't even move the needle on your finances, you probably shouldn't upgrade to this device from an S24 Ultra, or maybe even an S23 Ultra, to be honest. With that obligatory PSA out of the way, I mean, this phone is awesome. Pretty much every single element of the S25 Ultra is objectively excellent, and it feels like the rare master of all trades. Really, its only weak link is the price. Here in the US, the starting MSRP is $12.99. You can already find some sales for $9.99, and we all know, the three sweetest words in the English language are open box discount. The Ultra line just continues to be the go-to, no compromise option when you want the best all-around Android experience. It's voluptuous, it's luxurious, it's the phone you buy when you want the latest and greatest that Android has to offer, and aren't necessarily as concerned about getting the best bang for your buck. Samsung made some subtle changes to the design of this year's flagship, and though they're not all a net positive, I do think it's objectively beautiful. They've marginally reduced the size of the bezels around the screen, and kind of squared off the edges. It looks great, but I do feel that the S24 Ultra's rounded design made it a bit more comfortable to hold. It's pretty much an even playing field once you toss a case on it though. I'm a sucker for leather cases and love the way they wear and get that patina over time. Not a sponsor, but I found this great MagSafe compatible model that feels soft and premium over on Amazon, and I'll drop a link in the description if you'd like to pick one up. Samsung's build quality continues to be the gold standard. The phone feels robust and durable, and the attention to detail is just delightful. As is customary with Samsung phones, this screen is life-affirming to cast your gaze upon, and ushers in one of the actual tangible benefits of this year's model, the new anti-reflective coating. I wouldn't say it's a game changer, but it does make a nice difference when you're trying to avoid catching a glimpse of your cold, lifeless eyes while mindlessly scrolling. In addition to a best-in-class screen, the Ultra line has traditionally boasted excellent speaker quality, and this year's offering does not disappoint. Mind you, we're still talking about phone speakers, so keep your expectations realistic, but it offers some great clarity, plenty of volume, and even a reasonable amount of bass. Consuming content on this device is a real treat. The performance is expectedly stellar as well. This year's Snapdragon 8 Elite is a beast, and as you would hope for a phone with this price tag, the entire experience feels snappy and unbridled. And I've yet to encounter a single morsel of lag or instability. I'm not really a phone gamer, but I did kick the tires on a few different titles, and everything was buttery smooth. If you're the type of person that really likes to push your phone with gaming and video editing, I think you're going to be really happy with this rig. And it should maintain a high level of performance for several years to come. I feel like battery might be the most subjective thing to talk about with a phone, because it's so predicated on how you use your device. Even the most ardent battery champ can be brought to its knees with gaming, video editing, or long filming sessions. And conversely, a battery lightweight can get some users through a full day just fine, if they're not as debilitatingly addicted to their phone as the rest of us. That being said, the S25 Ultra has had outstanding endurance for me. Even on heavy usage days, I'm dropping it on my wireless charger before bed with 30 to 40% remaining. If you're an overnight charge kind of person, you basically won't have to think about this battery at all. And if you do need to top it off, it supports 45 watt wired and 15 watt wireless charging. Another thing we've come to expect from the Ultra line is an S-tier camera system. We still have the same main camera, 5x and 3x telephotos from last year's S24 Ultra, but they've given a much needed upgrade to the ultra wide, which is now 50 megapixels and a nice step up in quality. I don't tend to use the ultra-wide camera often, but for those who do, you'll appreciate the love. It is disappointing that we didn't see more camera hardware upgrades this year, but this is still arguably the best image capturing system you can get in a phone, especially on the telephoto side, where it really outshines the competition. And you can make your friends think you were able to afford much better seats than you actually did. One camera feature that I was excited to see this year was the inclusion of log video shooting, which essentially allows you to capture your footage without baked-in saturation or contrast, giving you more flexibility and dynamic range potential in post-production. It's not quite the full fat log footage you get from a mirrorless camera, and it does seem like they're still adding a bit more contrast and sharpness than the iPhone's log equivalent, but it's a solid step up in quality from the standard video footage, and a nice flexible option if you like to cook up your own looks in post. Especially now that the ultra-wide isn't such a potato, the versatile focal lengths and robust feature set make this an excellent system for content creation. I don't plan to ditch my mirrorless cameras anytime soon, but the gap between dedicated cameras and smartphones seems to close a bit more each year. Speaking of content creation, here's what happens to my brain when I'm watching a cool video and hear the words affiliate or sponsor.
I might need some help from our sponsor.
What? You son of a bitch.
So I get it, and I want to absolve you of any guilt you might feel for skipping this section, but I am honestly so excited and humbled to be working with a company that I genuinely love and use, Audiio. As someone who's been using royalty-free music and videos for literal decades, I can't tell you how painful that process has been in the past. You film a video you're proud of and are basically forced to ruin it with some truly insufferable music. Mercifully, the good folks at Audiio have come to our rescue and ushered in the golden age of music curation for content creators. Their library is a bottomless well of certified bangers, and it's hard to overstate just how much more enjoyable it is to make videos when you know you're gonna have actually good music with which to put that little extra sizzle on your proverbial steak. What I personally love about Audiio is that every single song in their library was created by actual human beings. You guys know how I feel about generative AI. I have a real John Henry complex when it comes to creating things, and especially with music. I'll take a flawed human being with real emotions and lived experiences every single time. One area where I actually do feel like AI can be super useful is for search and indexing functionality. And I don't think I've seen a better implementation of that than Audio's Hans AI and Link Match AI. Not only are they incredibly handy, but I've actually had a lot of fun playing with them, and it's shocking how much more efficient they make the sound selection process. I used to genuinely go track by track and listen to every song in a library before selecting one that I liked. Now I can just put in a few keywords, or drop a link to a reference track, and I'm off and running. If you're interested in tapping into the beautiful bounty of ear candy assets that Audiio provides, you can sign up using the link in the description below and get 70% off your first year. Hold on, that must be a typo. Okay, inexplicably that was not a typo, and you can actually get 70% off your first year of Audiio Pro using the link in the description below. I mean, at that price, basically can't afford not to buy it. And whether it's affiliate links or promo code discounts, 10% of every dollar I make on YouTube, which by the way is a very easy calculation currently, will be donated to the MN Humane Society, where I adopted my angelic sidekick, Nova. Okay, back to the video. One of the Ultra line's unique calling cards is its incorporated stylus, the S Pen. I'll be honest, I don't use my S Pen very often, but it is nice to have when I'm signing documents or annotating screenshots, and I'm sure there are users who are much more artistically inclined than I am, for whom this feature is probably a pretty big selling point. One of the more controversial elements of this year's Ultra is that Samsung decided to remove the S Pen's Bluetooth functionality, pruning back the ability to use it as a remote camera shutter, as well as some other Hogwarts-inspired air gestures you could previously cast to control your media from afar. Look, nobody's ever going to be excited to lose features, and I'm sure this decision mostly came down to Samsung wanting to cut cost. But I'll be honest, the S Pen Bluetooth stuff always felt pretty gimmicky to me. The most useful was definitely the remote camera shutter, and thankfully there are some alternatives that work well, like holding your palm up to the camera to activate a shutter timer. So it's easy to look at Apple and Samsung's mobile product strategies these days and accuse them of hubris. But it feels like almost every sector of consumer technology has really started to plateau. Take NVIDIA's latest GPU launches, for example. They were unable to shrink the die size in their 50 series cards, and as a result, the performance and efficiency gains were minimal and disappointing. So what did they do? Threw in some AI features that nobody asked for and called it a day. Sound familiar? And for my camera nerds, I think we all know in our heart of hearts that whenever Sony releases the A7 IV, it's probably going to be toting one of the same old dusty sensors they had laying around with some AI features we don't care about. This is just the era of diminishing returns. It doesn't mean the products aren't fantastic, but at least for the time being, I'm afraid gone are the days of being wowed by new product launches. With that in mind, I think the Galaxy S25 Ultra has a pretty complicated value proposition. I think it's still the best Android phone you can buy, but the industry landscape has changed to the point that it's difficult to decide if you should get this, maybe one of its predecessors at a discount, or take a look at some of the competition from Chinese manufacturers like OnePlus, who in my opinion, still got that dog in them. They're making phones that are still ambitious, closer to the cutting edge of the latest technology, and generally offer a better value. The latest S-Series Ultra phone has historically been an absolute feast. And this year, it kind of feels like they just reheated some leftovers. Like sure, they're still tasty, but it's hard to get super excited about leftovers. I've thoroughly enjoyed using this phone, but can't help but feel like
I love you too. But so what?
it's stagnant, but still the best. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.